Hi, Eagle Spitz here on Desert Island Vids from Punk for the Homeless. Today our special guest is Ali Hirsz. Hi, Ali.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So where are you based, Ali?
Well, currently I'm in Cambridgeshire, but we tend to move about as a band anyway, because one of our members is in Derbyshire and one's in Leeds. So I tend to flick back and forth between those areas. But currently I live in Cambridgeshire, probably will be moving soon though.
Okay, whereabouts?
It's just on the outskirts. I'm trying to think which would be easiest for you to kind of think. I don't know how well you know the area.
I was brought up in Cambridgeshire.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
just outside Peterborough. But I also lived in
Okay.
Cambridge because before I medically retired, I was a community psychiatric nurse. I actually did
Oh
my
wow.
basic psyche training at Fulbourn Hospital just outside Cambridge.
Oh wow, yeah. So you're kind of yeah, we're not too far from Cambridge. I don't know if you've seen Camborne, that's a fairly new development on the outskirts of Cambridge, but we're a tiny little village right next to that. So yeah, we're kind of just in the middle, like we could go either that way towards Royston or you can kind of go that way towards Cambridge. So
Okay.
it's a nice little area.
Well, I was brought up just outside Peterborough.
Yeah,
I
no,
was,
it's I yeah, go around there.
yeah, I was brought up on a farm just outside Peterborough, just outside a little village called Thorney.
Okay, yeah,
On
no,
the
I think I've been
A47.
around there, yeah.
Okay. So you're in a band called Idealistics.
Yeah, I am.
How long have you been going?
It must have been about 4 years now. So yeah, met 4 years ago.
Okay, cool. And where did you meet?
Well, actually, we met. I met the guitarist George on online. Actually, apparently that's how everything is done nowadays. Um, we were just both part of a Manic Street Preachers fan group, and because we were the two youngest there, he was like 14, I was 15. Everyone was kind of like, "Oh, you're fairly similar in age. Why don't you guys chat?" And then we did, and then he was looking for a bassist for his band, so I joined, and then quite a few years later, obviously I can't play bass anymore for medical reasons, so I started vocals. And then we didn't have a drummer for ages, so then we convinced my sister to just learn drums. We tried quite a few drummers, obviously people who had actually played drums, and it just never seemed to fit. No one seemed to, actually get the band. And people seem to just always end up, having to leave or whatever else. So because we do a lot of traveling, it was difficult for some people as well. So my sister, who kind of always supported, I mean, my whole family really supported the band, and my sister was kind of, always came to gigs and stuff. So we were like, well, why don't you just join in? And so she learned drums for the band.
Oh, brilliant, cool. Yeah, drummers are a bit hard to find sometimes, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, it was a really, really big challenge, and every time we thought we found someone, it just didn't seem to work, because it's quite a lot, and I can totally understand that it's a lot that some people don't quite get the medical side of things, and obviously I could get quite sick quite quickly, and for some people it's quite overwhelming. So I think that was a lot of the time where we lost drummers. So it was sad, but it's what happened. So it's helpful it's my sister because she knows, so it was all good.
Okay, brilliant. So what kind of subjects come up in your songs?
Quite a lot. Politics a lot of the time. It's kind because I'm the lyricist, so it's kind of whatever will irritate me enough to put it into lyrics, or I do it a lot when I'm in hospital, just because you get a lot of like raw emotions when you're in hospital, I find. So a lot about like medical things, lots of like disability awareness, raising awareness of those things, mental health, because I've had a lot with mental health and stuff, and yeah, like I said, politics is then the other big thing that we come up with a lot in our lyrics.
Hope
I
not,
quite like.
hope
Pardon?
not, I hope not right-wing politics coming from
No, that's the thing.
Cambridgeshire.
It's all yeah, no, it's constantly poking sticks at everyone, all the conservatives. I've got quite a few songs about all of that. And yeah, so I believe I've written songs about Brexit. Probably I was angry enough about that outcome. So all sorts, yeah, all sorts. But yeah, it's definitely not right wing. But yeah, so that's generally is I quite like those songs. They usually play out quite well with the music as well and stuff.
You mentioned Manic Street Preachers earlier. Would you like to introduce your first song?
Yeah, so my first song's Firefight by Manic Street Preachers. So for the 3 songs I picked, I tried to pick songs that actually could really spark emotions with me, not just, you know, the band's most well-known song or whatever. And so Firefight is off a little EP they released called God Save the Manics. And I don't know, it's just the song is just, I've always found it really connects to me. So ever since I first heard it, which was years and years and years ago, I always listen to it, and it's always just been the song that I think I pull out in pretty much every situation, every emotion. I can just pull that song out and, you know, listen to it, and it just always seems to help. But yeah, it's just a really nice song that I connect a lot with emotionally. So I thought I'd pick it for this.
Tonight we watch the burning cars shining bright. Watch that boredom is not the sky enough. Everything I love is now leaving me. No photographs can show how it used to be.
Awesome, brilliant. You mentioned disability awareness. I mean, I'm disabled myself. I'm registered as visually impaired, and I've got lots of other health problems. But so, where are you coming from with that? Are you involved in anything apart from the band? Are you involved in any ground roots organisations for that, or?
Yeah, so I've been chatting to Attitude is Everything, and they were currently arranging, you know, for me to come and talk on more panels and stuff like that. You know, what the view is for me to kind of also with some other organizations talk to, you know, promoters, organizers, festival organizers, all sorts, to just make them all aware what it is to kind of have a disability and how to accommodate us without, you know, completely, you know, just without completely making us feel ostracized as well. Because I've had that happen where they're trying so hard to, you know, make such an effort that in the end it's just ridiculous. And other band members, you know, will end up getting angry at me because I have to have all these other things. And it's, you know, it's a very, you know, it's a good balance that I think promoters should have. And it should really just become a thing where they just ask, what do you need when they book a band, rather than just assuming that you don't need anything extra. And then we've literally had where I was like, oh, well, can we make sure that there's this there? Because every venue should really have them. And then they're like, oh, just don't bother, then I'll book someone else. So it's very quick to just, you know, go like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then, I mean, part of the awareness, which I didn't think was going to be much of a thing, was just when I play on stage, or, you know, when I, obviously now it's been live streaming, but obviously when I've been live streaming, just being around with a tube has been enough of awareness for most people, because before lockdown, we couldn't get any gigs because no promoters would book us because of my feeding tube. They said it would deter their crowds. Wasn't the scene they wanted, whatever their scene was. It was awful. It was really, really awful. And actually, since lockdown and the live streams, it's actually helped me, because I went, well, you know what, I don't need a promoter to just click the live button on my Facebook page. So that's what we started doing. And then the more we did it, the more I had promoters, some of whom had actually, before we did the live streams, had said to me that they wouldn't ever book me because it would ruin their gigs, have since come forward and said to me that actually they totally like take back what they've said, because they're, you know, they were perfectly happy to just watch me, and they didn't even notice I had the tube, or they didn't pay attention to it. And it was just so easy for them to focus on that and not the music before. And hopefully now we've made a bit of a dent in changing that, because that was a big thing for us personally as the band. It was a massive thing for us. We were pretty much halted for a year when I first got my feeding tubes, because no one would give us a chance. So hopefully that's changed. But in general, because that's a very personal thing for us, in general, just kind of, yeah, just disability awareness, basically just trying to let people know that it's not a big deal, they can still provide help, and to just not have all these, you know, ideas and stereotypes around disabled people, which I find everywhere I go there is a stereotype, and it's just crazy. Partly because, you know, sometimes I need walking aids because I've got a connective tissue disorder, you know, sometimes, so my joints dislocate a lot and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, that means wheelchair, sometimes that means walking stick, and sometimes I'm totally fine to just be walking around with nothing. And I get abuse hurled at me, like whichever one I've got. If I've not got anything, everyone says I'm faking it. If I've got a walking stick, they say that, you know, I look like an old lady and it can't be that bad, I could just walk without the walking stick. And if I've got a wheelchair, everyone's like, oh, well, you're just using it for attention, like, you know, it's useless, people like you in society, stuff like that. So it's like, whatever I do, there's not a way out of it, like, nicely. So what I'm trying to do is just raise awareness for, you know, people.
I get the same thing with my wire stick, because I have to use a wire stick.
Yeah.
The amount of abuse I get, yeah, it's fucking unbelievable. It is like, what is wrong with people's minds?
It is awful, honestly. It's really, really, like, I just had no idea. It's like distressing to see how people are kind of responding to these things that don't actually affect them at all. It's like my stick is meaning nothing to you right now. I'm using it, it's absolutely fine, and still people feel the need to comment and stuff like that. And literally, like, the other day, I was like out walking dogs for the first, like, you know, out and about, and I tend to keep to myself, obviously, because of everything with lockdown and whatever else. And still people are like, oh my God, what is on your chest? And I was like, it's just not any of your business.
Exactly.
Like, it's just such a thing that people want to get involved with. And it's like, actually, it just doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter, because the problem with my feeding tube is that if I have things over it, it tends to bleed, or it tends to get quite sore and swollen, so I tend to have to leave it uncovered. And that's another thing where I've had people be like, it's just so attention seeking, why don't you just cover it up? And I'm like, actually, for medical reasons I can't. Can you just, you know, move along now, please?
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous, the amount. Pardon?
Yeah, no, sorry. So should we move on to your next song?
Yeah. I can't remember which one was second. I'm trying to think which one it was.
Sophie.
Oh yes, it was. Yeah, it's Bittersweet by Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I thought it was that one. It's the she released this on like her latest album. She did like an orchestral rearrangement of lots of her songs, and because for lots of her stuff, I mean, obviously it's like I've always liked her last two albums, and then when I've revisited her other stuff, I found it's just verging on disco a bit too much for me, which is fine. It's her style of music. But then she redid these kind of like orchestral rearrangements, and I really found that she really transformed some of the songs into like a completely different song, which I thought was very clever. And I really fell in love with some of the other songs that I hadn't previously, and Bittersweet is one that I just I used to use it a lot to kind of just fall asleep to, because I just find it so calming and so lovely. And I always think she has an incredible voice, so yeah, that's why I picked that one. Just really love that song.
Excellent.
How can I deny the feeling? Can't choose the fuse that lights the spark. Don't think I'll hold out too much longer. The lines are blurred and they're dividing. I desire light, I desire dark. Your influence is getting stronger. Despite my mind, my body is still curious. So won't you show me all there is to know? I know I shouldn't go, but something makes me crave. Your love is bittersweet. The fire in your touch I always find so hard to be. Your love is bittersweet. No substitute for real pleasure. You feed the need that lies in me. I've lost all sense to this devotion. One touch and there's a rush of electricity. So won't you show me all there is to know? I know I shouldn't go, but something makes me crave. Your love is bittersweet. The fire in your touch I always find so hard to be. Your love is bittersweet. Oh, oh, oh. So here I am. So here I am. Oh, it's bittersweet, bittersweet. So here I am. Anytime you call my name, I know I shouldn't go, but something makes me crave. Your love is bittersweet. The fire in your touch I always find so hard to be. Your love is bittersweet. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So here I am.
Tell us a little bit about your Idealistics, or just tell me a little bit about Idealistics. What kind of music do you make, and how do you write songs and that kind of stuff?
So it's quite difficult, because I would say we're probably like alternative / indie rock. But the thing is, we can change so much. We have lots of big ideas a lot of time, and obviously when we write demos, sometimes it changes when we then go into the studio and stuff like that. But the general writing process is, I will find something that has either pissed me off or made me really happy or whatever else, write lyrics about it, and then give it to George. And George writes all the music, so then George will come back to me with a demo. And then we all listen to the demo together, and then we start coming up with songs. And recently in lockdown, it's been great because actually George and Dom have been down here. That's why we've been a whole band in lockdown. So we've been able to kind of take those demos or lyrics and just literally jam. And that's been quite a nice way of coming up with songs. But generally we all kind of then put our own parts to it, and it kind of comes together, and then we just polish it up. But yeah, so song-wise, I would say that it's generally like a 3-piece rock trio type dynamic, but like I said, it does change, and we're putting together, it's in the early works of an album now as the next step, and that has changed. Like, that is just like a whole range of things. It's got so many different things on it and so many different feels, and it's kind of a lot more of a, like, we're going to have this running theme throughout the whole album, so there are elements of prog and stuff like that in there, definitely. So yeah, it's definitely like quite an interesting album, hopefully, and I hope it will show us a bit more for people, because we do have quite a wide range of things, but generally I think in the core it will be like a rock trio type, like alternative rock.
Okay, because I've only seen you do live streaming. Obviously you've done, I think it's 2 shows you've done for the Punk for Homeless so far.
Yeah.
One for the girls in Sierra Leone who absolutely loved you.
They were great. I love them. Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, we've had so much fun, but that's the thing, because we've not really had the like way to set up kind of the whole kit and whatever else, and the sound levels would be quite horrible with the whole drum kit with just a phone. So we've just kind of been doing like the cajon, acoustic guitar and vocals. So yeah, it's been a lot more stripped back than what we would usually do, a lot more stripped back. But we've been enjoying it.
Yeah, it works.
It does. We've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I love it. Like I say,
thank you.
I look forward to catching you in the real world at some point.
That would be lovely. That would be really lovely, because then you'd be able to kind of see the other side where it tends to be us with like full bands, because that's, I think, what we really enjoy. Lots and lots of noise and lots of guitars and whatever else. We quite enjoy that. It's very different because it's just a whole different world playing to a phone and just getting kind of comments on it, and then like just having a very stripped back set. So everyone else, it just all feels a bit more stripped back, because, you know, when you're playing live and there's a lot of energy and like everyone's going crazy and you know, it's just like very high energy. And for these, it just feels so odd because you have to kind of keep the energy going yourself and then just read comments on like a phone. I found it really hard to adapt to, actually, because I do draw a lot on energy, like at gigs, live gigs. So it was really weird actually doing this, but I've enjoyed it. I've honestly really, really enjoyed it. It's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed having something to do during lockdown, and I've been really enjoying just connecting with people. You know, it's crazy what social media can achieve now.
Like I say, I was feeling totally lost with Punk for Homeless at the start of the lockdown, and then there's been some really good things come from it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's, you know, being a DIY punk guy, I think it's all about using best ability of what you've got as opposed to what you haven't got.
Yeah, exactly. I think lockdown has just taught us all how to adapt quite quickly to the resources that we all had at home, which was quite different for many people.
Oh, yeah, I've had to learn lots of new skills. I mean, if somebody told me I was going to be doing a Zoom interview with somebody last year, I'd have thought, oh, you're fucking crazy. Technology, I'm an old punk.
Yeah, I've never been up with technology, and it showed at the beginning of the live streams. I had no idea what I was doing, but now I've got the hang of it. So yeah, I've quite enjoyed doing it. But yeah, I've learned a lot about technology and the ways around Facebook and whatever else. I've learned a lot.
So do you do many gigs normally?
We used to, and then as I mentioned previously briefly, it was kind of when I first got my feeding tubes, that was kind of like suddenly we were off the live scene. That was it. No promoter would give us a chance. We were like willing to travel everywhere. And then we managed to get somewhere, and we got a couple of gigs in Manchester and Liverpool, and we still had a few round here in Cambridge. Portland Arms were okay about it most of the time, so they still, you know, were fine about it all. But we used to play like gigs, you know, almost every weekend, or, you know, close to that. We were really enjoying ourselves. And then, yeah, it was just suddenly like, yeah, no, you've got a feeding tube to keep you alive. That's it. Like, you're not playing. So it was really weird.
You'd be welcome to play any Punk for Homeless gigs.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Well, it's hopefully once lockdown is over, and, you know, whenever live gigs will be allowed again, I'm going to try and do like a little push basically to just let us back on the music scene and go back to it, because we love it so much, and it was so sad to, you know, not be able to do it. But we did, before lockdown, we were beginning to break back and kind of be able to get more and more gigs, and we had festivals lined up and stuff like that. So which was very important, because we didn't have that before. But yeah, so we were able to kind of start it, and I'm hoping to continue doing that once live gigs are allowed again, because we do really miss gigging. We really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I love gigging. I mean, I front a band myself, plus I'm a punk poet. So the punk poetry stuff has been different through streaming, but yeah, and I can't jump around and roll about on the floor and scream and stuff like I'd normally do. But yeah, well, yeah, it's been going okay, performance wise.
Yeah. No, that's it. I think it's just a very different feel when you're in front of a phone. Yeah, that's what I found difficult. I can't like move about or anything. It was just like so weird. I was like, I don't know how to adapt to this.
So what's your last song, Ali?
So my last song is by Suede, and it's Tightrope. That's off I think their second last album, Night Thoughts. And this song, again, I picked like quite emotional songs this time. And Tightrope, again, is like a very emotional song. And I just always draw back on it. Like the others too, I would always draw back on it. It's just one song that they wrote, in the lyrics I've always found really, really connect with me. And like Brett's voice on it just is really, really beautiful. And it's always been a song that I've always thought, yeah, like when I first listened to the album, it was just the one song that I was like, you know what, that, because it's a brilliant album, but I was like, that song is just so, so lovely. And yeah, I've just, ever since, I've kind of always drawn back on it. I don't know, I tend to use it because the term tightrope has always interested me and stuff. Not like tightrope walking, because I think I'd be utterly awful at it. But
me too.
Yeah, I feel like I was like, I mean, I've got okay balance, but I was like, I don't think it would be the thing that would be all right for me. But just the term tightrope is such, I don't know, I've always found the concept very interesting, because lots of people use it as this kind of like, almost, I don't know, like when you're really at loss and you're very desperate, it's kind of, it feels like you're on a tightrope and at any point you could fall. And I've always found that a very interesting kind of thing, and I've always wanted to use that lyrically, and I've never been able to put it into words, and then he did for this one song, and I've always loved it, because sometimes, I mean, everyone will feel it, sometimes you just feel totally and utterly lost and desperate and you're on this tightrope. And I've, you know, always loved that. Just, I've always thought emotionally you're just kind of sat on this tightrope trying to find the balance and trying to get to the other side, and I've always really loved it. So I love that they then put that into lyrics, because I never did. Quite jealous.
Love me when I'm not around, when I have to go to ground. You just seem to want me when I'm never there. Silence is everywhere, on a tightrope with you. Too scared to look down through my fingers, walking the tightrope with you. Made my mistake when I slipped through the when I'm never there. Silence is everywhere.
No, brilliant. So, where can people get hold of your stuff in the meantime before your album? Have you got anything out people can listen to?
Yeah, we've got a
Or
few
even
things out.
buy?
Yeah. Well, so we've got things on. I think we're on basically all major streaming platforms as well. Obviously, that's the way to go now. We're like, no, we're not going to do anything on Spotify or anything. Everyone can just buy it all. But honestly, once we then put our stuff on Spotify, like the listens went up so much higher, just because that's the life now, really, Spotify. But you know, what can you do? So you have to move with the times, as they say. So we've got stuff on Spotify, we've got it on, you know, like iTunes, stuff like that. Got all sorts. So we've got 2 EPs. One's like a demo sort of EP that we are actually hoping to revisit and kind of redo ourselves almost and have a bit of fun with. Then we've got a single out, and then we've got another EP out, which we're also hoping to kind of revisit at some point, because it's quite different, because we released it and we really loved it, and then we went back to it like a few months later and we were like, you know what, I really think it could have done with, like, you know, dirty. It was quite a clean, polished sound at the end, and I think we all agreed we would have wanted maybe something just a bit more like dirty on certain aspects of it. And some of the songs changed quite a lot, and since playing them live and since, you know, revisiting them, we've since wanted to change them a bit again. So, you know, we've always thought it could be like B-sides or whatever, but you can find all that online. And then we will be hopefully then releasing something very, very soon, which is just in the finalized process of everything. So that announcement should be going on the band page, social media soon. But yeah, so we're very excited about that. We've worked hard with a brilliant producer with that one. So hopefully that will all be out soon.
Excellent. We're coming towards the end of the interview. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I think
Tell
I've managed
people?
to. No, I think I've managed to natter everything out that I wanted to say. I think you had brilliant questions. I could really get everything out to them. Yeah, that's basically it. I just hope that, you know, everyone else is holding out, and eventually, you know, we can all meet up in real life and actually be able to chat and have a great time, have a great gig and great time out and about. But in the meantime, this is great. It's great that we can still chat and all sorts.
Well, thanks for being on, Ali.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, check out Idealistics. Maybe they're not punk rock as you think it is, but you know, great band, and Punk Families crew have loved them. So check out Idealistics. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye now.
Bye.
Bye.